Hello, welcome to Flow Studio Dev Blog 2. I plan to do this weekly, but this is being a really long week. So I launched it over a week ago, and thank you so much. So many people have tried it and gave me a lot of feedback. I've been really busy. So in Dev Blog 1, we were up to version 12, 0.0. 12, which is about here, and since then I've been busy. So I want to quickly in this dev blog 2 just talk about all the new features, and I'm thinking to create little snippet videos of each feature that will be something quite nice, and we can there might be some features that people really like, and that's a quick way to see what Flow Studio can do for you. So in version 13, we added edit, load the definition of the flow. So here it is. And so this is a simple JSON editor that I found and integrated into the app. It actually has a find replace that I find very useful. So say for example, if you want to rename this get item. I don't really like this get item. We can do find get item. And replace it with a different name. So that's a good way to do action rename. And make sure you also replace all the ones in the expressions. But yeah, that will rename it everywhere. It's safe, and then it will save it back into the flow. Version 14 was when I upgraded the app to Angular 6. So the app was initially built in Angular 5. I upgraded to Angular 6 when Telerik controls were. I upgraded to Angular 6 when Telerik controls were updated. Only about 2 days later. In version 15, I fixed the run URL. So in the dev blog, I mentioned you can click through these runs and they will take them to the actual run. So this one was successful. I've got several bug reports where it wasn't actually resolving all the run URLs correctly. Sometimes it sent you to the wrong place, or even wrong tenant. It was sending a lot of people to Australia. So I fixed that one. That was actually a very silly bug in version 15. I was fixing 15. Version 16 is where I implemented IndexedDB. So Flow Studio will try its best to cache everything that it's read. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see this cache number. So it's cached 212 flows, 2600 runs. So that's actually that number. And then it's cached some settings. So there are several settings that it caches. The implementing cache also means that I could now do, say, sort by runs, and that is a saved setting. So if you refresh and come back, see that the runs remains the primary sorted column, and the loading is very quick because it's pulling up from IndexedDB. So that was version 16. Version 17, we did duplicate flows, which is awesome. That will just duplicate the flow. So that was changelog email. And I probably should do this. Yeah, here we go. Changelog email copy. So that one's created only a few seconds ago. And when duplicating the flows, it also will duplicate the connectors. So here we go, that flow was created 22 seconds ago. We'll duplicate connectors so they are ready to run. It does duplicate it in the stop state. So I'll consider if you have flows that are, say, based on a recurrence trigger or based on a SharePoint trigger, you don't want it to be on the on state, because then you will immediately have two flows triggering off the same trigger. So I set it up as an off state. Duplicate flow has an interesting use case where, say, if you duplicate a SharePoint trigger, you can then open it with add a JSON and change the URL. So that is a nice use case. I plan to kind of flesh out more of the capabilities around that in the future. But currently, we can duplicate flow, and then we can add a JSON to change the URL. And that's a good way to, say, copy a flow that you have that works with one SharePoint site into another SharePoint site, and then just kind of duplicate. Duplicate flow, and then in version 18, I did feedback. So you need to give me feedback. That's good feedback, and when you send a feedback to me, the function is actually called great feedback. So you need to send me lots of feedback. And I read all of them, yeah, I would like to just understand what people like to see, or what bugs, if you are seeing any, and so on. Version 18 is also where I auto relog. So if you have logged in, then there is some cookies saved for you in the browser. If I detect those cookies, I will call add.js to try to log you back in automatically. So before version 18, when you return to the Flow Studio app, it will just kind of stop at the login screen, and you might be staring at a very blank screen. So in 18 and later, it will automatically try to log in. Also, we added tag filtering, so we add tags. Tags means I can now do demo2. That. Don't need to hit save, because I'm not saving it until you hit save. And I wanted to quickly show, if I take you over to the actual flow, the tags are actually they're appended into the description of your flow. So even if you're not using Flow Studio, the data stays in the flow. And if you were to run Flow Studio in a team, so maybe this is a team flow, or if you go to a different browser and you're using Flow Studio, the tags will go with that flow. Okay, so these are appended to the end of a description. If you have existing descriptions, you won't touch them. You'll basically add tags to the end. And then I added tag filtering. So if you click on a tag, you see I'll apply a filter, and that will basically filter to show only the flows that you've applied that tag. And because these filters are saved, if you reload and come back, the tags are still applied. So these tags will persist with you. Click it again to make it go away. In version 19, I did some work around reading the triggers. So this is now showing all the triggers. These are all actually called request triggers, but request triggers have different trigger kind. There's the button trigger, there's HTTP, there's recurrence, and so on and so forth. I've added filtering for triggers. So one of the good ones I like to show is the SharePoint trigger. So if we filter by SharePoint, we can then see the different type of trigger. So it's not enough space. So on new items, on updated items, and I think that's on new file. So we have several triggers from SharePoint. So it's a good way to quickly see all the flows that are tied to a SharePoint trigger or a particular trigger. Lastly, I added some trigger filtering, so you can filter by, if I just want to see the button, or if I want to just see all the requests. Now, request triggers include both HTTP, which is called a menu trigger. The API connection is a webhook trigger. The button trigger. Yeah, in flow definition, they are all called request triggers. So that's why there's this strange way that I've named it. They are all called requests, and the Power Apps is actually also a request trigger. So that's Power Apps. These icons are read from the definition JSON. So the definition JSON has reference to the connector that the trigger belongs on, and that connector has an icon. So I'm basically reading that right off the flow definition. So that's quite cool. And that's I'll leave that there, I think. Oh right, there's one more thing I do want to talk about. I want to talk about the dates. So initially I have the dates formatted to the current browser locale, but in Australia we do, year. We either do day, month, year, or we do year, month, day. We don't do America's month, day, year. So trying to get that correct is tricky without loading a lot of libraries, including Moment with all its time zones. So I've opted for a kind of an in-between solution. I use a date format that's similar to an ISO format, but slightly more humanly readable. And that's also closer to how the sorting works. So it's basically year, month, and day, and then hour, 24-hour, minute, and second. So hopefully that's a universal date format that suits everyone. The dates are calculated to your own region, so it should show hour and day according to your time zone from your browser. And that's all for Dev Blog 2. Let me know what you think of Flow Studio or the Dev Blog, and I welcome any feedback. You can reply to the YouTube channel, you can tweet me, or you can hit the feedback button here and send me lots of feedback. I look forward to it. Thank you. Bye.